What is going on, guys? It is Wrestlelamia here, back with some more news. Join us now as we look at the wildest news stories and rumors you need to know, including Jeff Hardy having some harsh words for the WWE, an update on Cesaro quitting WWE, Seth Rollins breaks character to pay tribute, another released WWE wrestler heading to AEW, did Chris Jericho get ab implants, and much more. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos, and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. Now let's hit the intro and get straight into our first story. Our first story looks at Jeff Hardy's harsh words for the WWE. Atop today's news is a story that Jeff Hardy is unhappy with the way WWE handled things when they released him. During an interview with YouTuber Jared Myers, Jeff discussed his release as well as a possibility of return to WWE. Hopefully, yeah, and I would love to go back. They released me and tried to make me go to rehab, but I'm just so over it. My dream match was with Roman Reigns. I've talked about that many times, but then I said, so you want me to go away for like 28 days just to save my job? No. Hardy was released after a bizarre incident where he left a 6-man tag match at a live event before it concluded, leading to speculation that Hardy was under the influence. A drug test came back negative with reports that the WWE tried to woo Jeff back with the promises of a spot in this year's Hall of Fame. A brother Nero refused, and the WWE's request he attended rehab proved a sore spot for him. You know what's important to me? Family. My 2 daughters, my wife, they believe in me. F WWE, man. It's like a private personal thing. I'm not going to F and go to rehab. They believe in me, that's all that matters. My wife and my 2 girls. Wrestling's charismatic enigma told Myers that he was heading to AEW but tweeted the following clarification. Nothing is official. Social media it can be right now. I've simply set a goal for myself and I will achieve it eventually. The main thing is, don't get excited. Our wrestling company can officially negotiate with Hardy as he's still under a non-compete clause, but the wrestling industry is known for using unofficial communications to check a wrestler's interest in working elsewhere. Next up, an update on Cesaro quitting WWE. As reported yesterday, longtime WWE superstar Cesaro has opted to leave the WWE following the expiration of his contract, and now more details are emerging on where the Swiss Superman could end up. According to this week's Observer, he hasn't gotten any backdoor AEW offer when he was negotiating, so it wasn't that he got a better offer elsewhere. That isn't saying AEW may not make an offer now that he's a free agent. Right now he's leaving the promotion unless something changes. A Fightful Select noted that Cesaro was unhappy with his push and expressed a reasonable disappointment at his booking. The current news reports on Cesaro have indicated it's still possible for him to return to WWE, but presumably only if they give him a good enough offer. Next up, Seth Rollins breaks character to pay tribute. Speaking of the Swiss cyborg, Cesaro's friend and longtime ring rival Seth Rollins paid tribute to him on social media, tweeting a gift from the 2 superstars match at WrestleMania 37 where Cesaro put Rollins into an amazing airplane spin. Cesaro and Seth wrestled each other many times before they entered the WWE, with some memorable matches when they wrestled in Ring of Honor. Next up, Dax Harwood talks depression in WWE and Shawn Michaels being a jerk. While Dax Harwood is doing well in All Elite Wrestling, his time in the WWE as Scott Dawson saw him battling depression and having to deal with Shawn Michaels being an ass. Dax recently opened up with Renee Paquette about his experience, recalling how he was in a state of major depression because while a lot of people wrestle for a paycheck, he wrestles to make a legacy, and in WWE, that wasn't happening. Harwood said he tore a bicep after punching Sheamus, and he and rival partner Dash Wilder, aka partner Cash Wheeler, were then put on TV to get beat up by DX at the Raw 25th special. Harwood spoke about talking to Shawn Michaels backstage, expressing his frustration and saying how his wife's support helped him. Michaels, who hadn't talked with Harwood since their time at the WWE Performance Center, told Dax, he said, I was the same way. I was in this very dark spot and my wife, she's beautiful, she pulled out of this dark spot too. You and your partner are way too talented to be doing what you're doing tonight and way too talented to stay at this point. Just keep your nose to the ground and keep grinding and you're gonna get over. But despite Michaels' comforting words, Harwood said Michaels turned on him when the other members of DX showed up. We had this bonding moment. Then we got in front of his friends, X-Pac, Hunter, Billy Gunn, Road Dogg and Scott Hall. As soon as we got in front of his friends, he started making fun of me and my situation and what happened with my biceps. Man, I just poured my heart out to you, and as soon as we get in front of your friends as we're going over them beating the shit out of us, you decide to take all that stuff and make fun about it? Now, on a brighter note, Harwood told Paquette that one member of DX was at least kind to him. I never forgot it, and as soon as we were done with the business of Raw, one person said thank you, and that was Sean Waltman. Everyone else was so cold to us and treated us like we were just shit on the bottom of their shoes except for Sean Waltman. I'll never forget that with Shawn, and I hope there is a day where we can sit down and have a conversation and I can ask him why he did that and we can reconcile if he wants to. What do you think of Shawn's behaviour there? Let us know in the comments down below. Next up, Kenny Omega talks many injuries. Kenny Omega has been off AEW television since dropping the AEW World Heavyweight Championship to Hangman Adam Page at November's Full Gear pay-per-view, with the cleaner taking time off to deal with a number of injuries. The number of injuries actually may surprise you, as Omega recently appeared on the Wrestling Observer Radio. This week's Observer summarized Omega's injuries, noting Omega is dealing with vertigo from the Tetsuya Naito match in the 2016 G1 tournament, which he's learned to work around, issues with both knees, his shoulder, his nose and his neck, as well as an umbilical hernia. He dealt with all of them throughout 2021 and for the most part was able to work fine with them, past one run-in on an Impact show where he said he walked like a zombie because he had to do so much over and over because they taped so many shows at once over the course of a few days. It's incredible to think of any wrestler working with so many injuries, not to mention that Omega didn't seem to slow down in the ring despite being beat up. Meltzer noted, as far as a return, once he gets the hernia surgery, it'll be about 2 months after that. He's working on strengthening the supporting muscles around his injuries and doesn't sense any major surgeries on his neck, knees or shoulder. He's done stem cell and blood spinning and even newer techniques that athletes have just started doing that aren't as well known yet. He's hoping to be back for Revolution, but that's not going to happen. He didn't say, but I sense the time frame around Double or Nothing, but there has been no pressure on him to rush back. Now the good news is that Omega seems to be taking time he needs to address his injuries, a wise move as he could add years to his career. In the meantime, AEW has so many stars that it can deal with Omega's absence. While we're on the subject, an update on AEW's console video game. Omega also gave Meltzer an update on the long-awaited AEW console video game, which is on his way to becoming the video game equivalent of the WWE's Veer is Coming memes. Meltzer noted Omega also said that whilst this may not happen, they are hopeful to have a video game presentation over the Revolution weekend in Orlando, but may not be ready. He said the game won't be able to match WWE for graphics, but he hopes other aspects will make it a game people really enjoy. Next up, another released WWE wrestler headed to AEW. Could recently released WWE superstar Isaiah Swerve Scott, aka Shane Strickland, be headed to AEW. According to Fightful Select, Strickland is expected to sign with AEW soon and will debut sometime in March, possibly as soon as AEW's Revolution pay-per-view. Strickland already has a lot going on in the squared circle, as Wrestling Observer Figure 4 Online's Josh Nason noted. Strickland has a busy schedule in the months ahead with his Terminus debut Thursday, an upcoming Defy match against Prodigy Nick Wayne, several matches during WrestleMania weekend in Dallas, and 2 GCW events in April. As Strickland worked in the NXT faction Hit Row, which seemed to be on the fast track to success when it debuted on the main roster, only for the group to be cut by WWE. And finally, did Chris Jericho get ab implants? And last but not least, a scandal is sweeping social media as AEW star Chris Jericho is being accused of getting cosmetic surgery to achieve the shredded look he sported on the 23rd February edition of Dynamite. Le Champion looked great, apparently having shed some of the extra pounds some people took him to task over via social media. But after someone tweeted, "I'm reading these are ab implants. Think so?" Jericho replied, "That is the stupidest effing thing I've ever heard. Keep reaching, haters. The aging process can be a nightmare on anyone's physique, but a process known as proper nutrition and hard work in the gym can achieve remarkable results, as apparent with Jericho's physical transformation." But there you have it, folks, the wildest news stories and rumors you need to know. Be sure to leave your comments down below, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.